Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
1759 Voltaire, François-Marie, Arouet, Candide. The following essay undertakes a rigorous examination of Voltaire's Candide, published in 1759. Its central objective resides in a section-by-section evaluation of the work's internal claims, arguments, and thematic elements. This critical interrogation will illuminate how Voltaire constructs his narrative, the philosophical underpinnings that inform his satirical targets, and the enduring significance of his literary achievement. The analysis will prioritize a close reading of the text, examining its internal coherence, its logical framework, and its deployment of literary strategies to advance its critique of philosophical optimism and societal injustices. The essay aims to furnish a thorough explication of Candide, revealing its complexities and demonstrating its ongoing relevance. Section 1. The Garden of Westphalia and the Illusion of Optimism. The initial chapters of Candide established a philosophical landscape Voltaire intends to dismantle. The protagonist, Candide, resides in the Baron Thunderkentronk's castle in Westphalia. This environment, presented as a paradise, serves as the breeding ground for Panglossian optimism, a philosophy that declares this world the best of all possible worlds. Pangloss, Candide's tutor, espouses a philosophy of inherent goodness and order, claiming that every event, regardless of its apparent malice, contributes to a preordained, harmonious whole. A central claim within this section resides in the presentation of this naive optimism. The portrayal of Westphalia, before the introduction of hardship, presents a microcosm of this belief. Everything operates smoothly, a consequence of a carefully constructed reality. The Baron's niece, Cunégonde, embodies beauty and innocence. Candide, as a figure of unblemished naivete, imbibes Pangloss lessons with unwavering faith. Voltaire, through this setting, employs literary devices not as incidental embellishments but as integral components of his argument. Hyperbole, visible in the idyllic description of the castle and its inhabitants, subtly underscores the fragility of Pangloss' claims. The very perfection of Westphalia, the artificiality of its environment, sets the stage for its eventual destruction and the consequent shattering of Candide's innocent worldview. The reader understands the forthcoming disillusionment. The introduction of small complications, a consequence of the physical longing between Candide and Cunégonde, foreshadows the abrupt shift from this perceived paradise. The expulsion of Candide from the castle represents the first concrete challenge to Pangloss' tenets. This event initiates Candide's journey into the wild, where the harsh realities of human existence will consistently contradict the rosy pronouncements of his mentor. The depiction of Candide's ejection is not simply a plot device, it is the opening act of Voltaire's systematic deconstruction of Panglossian optimism. Section 2. The brutality of war and the critique of organized violence. The second movement of Candide focuses on the horrors of war, specifically the conflict between the Bulgarians and the Ibers. This segment provides a decisive counterpoint to the optimistic idealism presented in the prior section. As Candide witnesses the atrocities of the battlefield, the reader observes the violent refutation of Pangloss' belief in an orderly, intrinsically good universe. The descriptions of devastation and suffering are stark. Voltaire abandons the relatively gentle satire of the earlier chapters, employing graphic details to shock the reader into a confrontation with the brutal realities of conflict, the annihilation and suffering of entire populations, the violation of innocence, all serve as direct invalidations of Pangloss' claim that everything happens for the. Voltaire's critique extends beyond a condemnation of war's physical violence. He directs criticism at the institutions that enable it, encompassing the military, religious authorities who offer justifications for war, and those who benefit from the chaos. The recruitment of Candide into the Bulgarian army underscores the manipulative mechanisms employed to conscript individuals into a life of violence. The emphasis on the senselessness of the conflict, the arbitrary killing, the lack of any real purpose further undermines the tenets of philosophical optimism. The consequences of war, the destruction, the disease, the loss of life, stand as powerful reminders that the world, as currently organized, is quite distant from being the best possible. Candide's forced participation in the war is a crucial turning point, revealing the tragic effects of human choices and the devastating impact of organized violence. Section 3. Lisbon, the earthquake, and the challenged divine providence. The arrival of Candide in Lisbon marks a pivotal moment in the narrative, coinciding with the devastating earthquake that ravaged the city in 1755. This event provides Voltaire with the narrative opportunity to challenge the core tenets of Pangloss' philosophy. The earthquake, a disaster of immense scale and indiscriminate destruction, serves as a palpable demonstration of the world's inherent chaos. The physical trauma and the psychological turmoil of the survivors challenge the notion that the universe is governed by benevolent forces. The subsequent auto-da-fe, the public execution orchestrated by the Inquisition to appease a perceived angry God, further exposes the hypocrisy and brutality of religious dogma. Voltaire's satire, in this section, becomes particularly sharp. The descriptions of the earthquake's aftermath, the suffering meted out to the inhabitants, and the perverse logic of the Inquisition's response deliver specific blows to Pangloss' optimism. The trial and execution of Candide's companions, conducted to placate the deity's presumed anger, function as a searing commentary on religious fanaticism. The execution of an innocent, followed by the survival of the guilty, represents the utter lack of justice and order in the world. Voltaire uses irony masterfully, contrasting the optimistic pronouncements of Pangloss with the actual consequences of events. The execution of Candide and Pangloss, because of the earthquake, exposes the inadequacy of a philosophy that cannot account for suffering and injustice. It underscores the irrationality of human actions and the arbitrary nature of fate. Section 4, El Dorado, Ideal Society, the Illusions of Perfection. The exploration of El Dorado presents a departure from the cynical pessimism that pervades much of Candide. This section functions as a utopian interlude. Candide, accompanied by Cacambo, discovers a society that appears to embody the ideals of reason and virtue. El Dorado is a land devoid of poverty, greed, conflict, and religious imposition. The inhabitants embrace reason, prioritize knowledge, and live in harmony. The absence of a legal system, churches, or prisons serves as a marked contrast to the societies Candide has previously encountered. Voltaire does not embrace this utopia without reservation. The depiction of El Dorado serves an important dual purpose. It provides a standard against which the imperfections of the real world can be measured. More fundamentally, it highlights the limitations of an ideal. Candide, although admiring the societal structure, eventually decides to leave, driven by his desire to reunite with Cunegonde. This choice illustrates the innate human values of love, loyalty, and connection, which, according to Voltaire, are more essential than even an idyllic existence. The El Dorado episode affirms the conviction that seeking perfection in the world can be as futile as embracing Panglossian optimism. It reveals that human nature, with its inherent flaws and desires, would inevitably undermine any attempt to achieve such a state. The ultimate message is that the pursuit of happiness is to be found not in the attainment of abstract ideals but in the human connection and the acceptance of the imperfect in all things. Section 5, The Hazards of Travel and the Critique of Social Stratification. The remainder of Candide features Candide's continued journey through diverse societies, encountering various forms of social and economic injustice. Voltaire demonstrates how avarice, cruelty, and the abuse of power shape them. He satirizes the exploitation of the vulnerable, the inequitable distribution of wealth, and the corruption that permeates various levels of society. The encounters with diverse characters expose the effects of human greed. The relentless pursuit of wealth and status is portrayed as a key driver of societal corruption. The portrayal of specific characters, like the merchant Vanderdendua, is a direct critique of social stratification and the economic structures that enable it. Vanderdendua, representative of European colonial exploitation, embodies the pervasive avarice that drives the slave trade and the economic oppression of vulnerable populations. The descriptions of the suffering borne by slaves and those exploited by Vanderdendua's business are not mere embellishments, they are integral to Voltaire's argument. Candide's constant interactions with members of different social strata underscore the inequalities to which society has adhered. The contrast between the opulent lifestyle of the wealthy and the plight of the impoverished forms a constant reminder of the injustices suffered by the powerless. The various encounters on the journey serve to highlight the enduring prevalence of human vices and the difficulty of realizing justice and human happiness. Section 6, The Significance of Cultivating and Accepting Imperfection. In the final chapters of Candide, Voltaire presents a resolution to the philosophical dilemmas explored throughout the work. The final reconciliation of Candide, Cunegonde, and the remaining companions in a small farm provides the setting for Candide's final pronouncements. The story concludes with a conversation concerning the meaning of existence. The central proposition that emerges is that happiness is achievable not through embracing an airy optimism, but through the active cultivation of one's own garden. This, for in the final sentence of the narrative, conveys the author's understanding of the cultivation of the garden represents a rejection of both Panglossian optimism and hopeless pessimism. It constitutes a call to adopt a pragmatic approach to life, focusing on practical labor, self-sufficiency, and the cultivation of personal relationships. It encompasses a recognition of the inevitability of suffering and the need to find meaning within a flawed world. By rejecting grand philosophical systems, Voltaire champions action. The focus shifts from the pursuit of an impossible ideal to the cultivation of personal well-being and connection. The final dialogue between Candide, Pangloss, and other characters highlights the intellectual trajectory of the narrative with an added element. This conclusion, grounded in practical work, represents the resolution of philosophical despair. The ending suggests that contentment requires active dedication, acceptance of hardship, and focus upon the immediate surroundings. Section 7. The enduring legacy and critical reception of Candide. The lasting significance of Candide derives from its astute philosophical commentary, its relentless critique of social injustice, and its masterful use of irony and satire. Contemporary reviews were varied, often aligning with pre-existing philosophical positions. Some critics condemned the perceived cynicism and pessimism of the work, while others championed Voltaire's daring challenge to established philosophical and religious structures. The book's immediate success and the controversial character of its claims led to many reprints and translations across Europe. The enduring appeal of Candide derives from Voltaire's ability to tackle broad philosophical questions in an accessible yet profoundly insightful way. The narrative structure, which follows Candide on his journey through an array of experiences, allows Voltaire to explore a diverse range of themes. The constant juxtaposition of optimism and misery provides a powerful and memorable critique. The work's influence extends beyond the realm of literature. It has impacted philosophical discourse, social and political thought, and popular culture. Candide functions as a testament to the power of literature to challenge established ideas, expose hypocrisy, and inspire critical thinking. The work encourages self-awareness. The lasting value of Candide resides in its capacity to engage, provoke, and challenge readers to explore their respective roles. Its core is a call for mindful engagement. Conclusion. In conclusion, Voltaire's Candide remains a vital work of literature, distinguished by its profound philosophical insights, its scathing social critique, and its masterful use of satire. The careful section-by-section analysis reveals how Voltaire masterfully constructs his argument through the careful deployment of literary devices, the strategic placement of episodes, and the creation of compelling characters. From the deceptive tranquility of Westphalia to the utopian dream of El Dorado, the work offers the reader a tour through the varied terrains of human existence. Voltaire, in his critique of Panglossian optimism and his exposure of social injustice, provides a compelling argument for a pragmatic and engaged approach to life. The enduring relevance of Candide lies in its ability to challenge readers to critically evaluate their own assumptions and to find meaning in the face of the world's inherent complexities. The cultivation of one's own garden, the final pronouncement, functions as a timeless instruction for living with awareness and responsibility, and this message, presented in its stark, humorous, and profoundly human simplicity, ensures the continuing significance of Candide for generations to come.
We really appreciate you tuning into this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.